Hey there weavers, welcome back. This is Grace with Tangled Webs Weaving, and today we're starting another project from the Winter 2024 edition of Handwoven magazine. This one is called Concentric Squares Scarf. Now this is a double weave, and but it's woven in two layers that are interlaced in places, so it doesn't open up. It's just a double weave, not a double width. So this particular pattern called for some yarns that I had a little bit of trouble getting a hold of. So I had to make one substitution, and it took me a while to get the other yarns in stock. So that is one of the reasons that I had started using my Ziploc bag organizing system, because I was trying to wait for things to come in stock. So this is a picture of the pattern, and you can see that it's got all these little squares. Let's see if we can get a close-up one of it from the magazine. Let's see here. So there we go. You can see the close-up. So it's got these little squares that have a lot of different colors coming through. Now the warp on this called for Valley Yarns 10-2 mercerized cotton in black, and it called for dark teal in Valley Yarns. I was not able to get dark teal in Valley Yarns. It just never came in stock. So I ended up using Lunatic Fringe's blue green, which is a pretty dark teal. Then the the Weft calls for a Jaeger spun Zephyr, which is an 18-2 50-50 wool silk blend. Now, as a lot of you know, Jaeger spun has gone out of business, so finding this yarn is going to be very difficult in the future. I was actually able to buy this before Jaeger spun shut down. So it calls for a Chartreuse, and here you can see it's, let's see there, it's kind of a mustardy yellow, and when I got it, I wasn't quite sure. I was like, I don't really like that color, but in the picture and with the other colors, it should come out nice. We'll see. And then the other Weft color that alternates is the Maurice Brassard's, what is this? Blue Moyen. So it's kind of a brighter blue. And so I'll put together, let's see if we can do this. All right. I'll put together, I probably wouldn't have picked these colors, but the picture looks gorgeous, so we'll see. So the Blue Moyen is a 16-2, the Jaeger spun Zephyr is an 18-2, and they're going to alternate in the Weft and create the pattern. So we'll go ahead and get this started on the warping board, and then get it on the loom and start weaving it. Oh, and I just have to say, I have the best husband in the whole world, because he bought me this shirt for Christmas. So he knows how much I love weaving, and I guess he saw it and he thought this would be perfect. So I am wearing my Shuttle Pilot shirt today. So let's go ahead and start warping this. Okay, so we're getting ready to wind the warp here. This is a 3.5 yard warp, and we're using two colors wound together. So we have a black and a dark teal. And these are going to be wound one each. So we're going to wind them two at a time, because you would not want to have to stop and tie your next color on after each pass. So I tie them together and just do a slip knot here. And we'll put that over our first post. And then when I do two at a time, I hold the two threads together. I make sure that they're not twisted around each other from the spool. And then I put a finger between the two threads. And I'm going to keep that finger in there as I wind. And I'm going to keep the black thread in the back and the teal thread in the front. And I'm just going to keep this right hand that has the threads in the same position. And I'm going to use my left hand to kind of work things around the posts. Now, when you're doing this, if they get crossed here at the top, it's not really a big deal. If it gets crossed at one of these turning posts, that's not a big deal. As long as you keep your hand in the same position, that's going to keep that black thread in the back and the teal thread in the front. And you will not have any problem in your threading. Now you'll notice when I get up to my cross that I keep both threads in the same cross. Again, when you get it on the loom, it may twist and it may present as the teal thread first and the black thread second. Don't worry about that. Just take the thread that you should be threading, say the black thread, and if there's a small twist between the heddles and the warp on the warp beam, it's not going to make an issue. The issue is when you have twists coming up from your spool that continue to twist through your warp, and that can cause tension issues. So that's why you keep this finger through those two threads, providing even tension on both threads. And we're going to do, this calls for 406 ends. So we're going to do this in 2 bouts. I figure I can get a couple hundred threads on my warping board here easily. And so we'll make it in 2 bouts. Oops. So warping 2 at a time, or 3 or 4 at a time, makes warping go much faster. If this was a wider warp, I probably would have wound off enough for each so that I could warp 4 at a time. 2 black and 2 teal, but it's only a 17 or 13-inch wide warp, so this should go pretty fast. Oops. Okay, so here you can see I've got a, they joined the thread mid-spool, so I don't want that in the middle of my scarf. So what we're going to do is we're going to back up to the turning point down here, and we're going to take that teal thread and we're going to find that knot, and I'm going to cut my teal thread off here at the turning point, and then find that knot. I'll let that hang, and then cut. So basically I'm cutting out this small section of thread that is between my turning point and the knot, because I want the knot down here at my turning point. That's not going to affect my weaving, my woven item. So then we'll just do an overhand knot, and then we can start back, making sure that I don't get things tangled, because my black thread is now longer, more of it's unwound. So I've got a bit of a snarl down there. There we go. All right. A bit of a snarl there. So we'll just take it slow until we get back on track. There we go. So keeping everything organized coming up from the spools is critical. If I were using multiple spools, say 4 spools, 2 black and 2 teal, I might create a stand with some eyelets on it so that I could keep those threads organized coming up from the spools. And it's a good idea to keep your warp pushed back on your pegs so that it doesn't create different tensions. And you don't want to, when you're warping, you don't want to cross or stack your new thread on top of the existing warp that's on your board. You want it to be in front of it. We'll just keep going on here until I have another 200 threads. So being comfortable warping 2 at a time is, I think, a really important skill when weaving, because it can be used so often. Even if you are winding a white warp or a solid color warp, let's say, you're not winding colors, you can speed up your winding double by having 2 cones of that color and winding 2 at a time. Winding more than 2 at a time obviously will make your winding even that much faster, but it can get a little more challenging when you have more than 2. 3 isn't too bad. 4 is getting challenging. More than 4, it's hard to keep them corralled in your fingers. So doing more than 4 at a time, you might want to go with a warping paddle. And that would actually keep your cross separated. Or you can keep it separated, I should say. I mean, you could keep your cross separated with 2. It just wouldn't be quite as fast. And it's really not necessary. There is a I'm not sure. There's a company called can't remember the name of it now. The Weaving Shed. There's a company called The Weaving Shed on YouTube. I don't know if they are on, or they're on Facebook. I don't know if they're on YouTube. I'll have to check on that. But they weave, they're in Ireland, I believe, and they weave on a tweed. They weave tweed, and they weave on an old loom that is specifically for weaving tweed, that's pedal actuated. And they post videos of them winding these massive warps. The warp is many threads of different colors. That's what makes up the tweed. And they are horrendously long. I mean, the whole wall is covered as a warping board. And it's just fascinating to watch her wind that warp. Talk about getting your steps in, because she has to walk back and forth along the board to warp it. And she probably warps, I'm gonna say at least 10, if not more, threads at a time. And she doesn't use a warping paddle or anything. She just uses her hands. And it's very fascinating. Someday I would like to try it. Okay, I am going to stop here and count where I'm at. All right, so I am at 86 threads, or I should say 86 full passes, so I have to double that. I need to get my total thread count. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is I use these chip clips. You can get them on Amazon. I'll put a link down below for them. And they are really handy in holding your warp. I do not tie chokes on my warp. I chain it, and I keep it under tension while I'm chaining it, and that keeps it from tangling on itself. And since I have started doing that, I have never had a warp tangle as I'm winding onto the loom. So these chip clips are a great tool. All right, and then I'm going to, so that I can keep control of my loop down here, I'll just put a loop of thread in there. And then we're going to start chaining from this end. And past in front of you. So we're going to keep it under tension, and we're just going to walk our hand up as we chain it. Switch hands to go the other way. And you can see how this keeps it all neatly organized. And then when I get up to my cross here, I'll just kind of tie it off, and there you have it. So we're going to wind another one of these, and then we'll put it on the loom. Okay, so you can see that I have the scarf on the loom now, and I started weaving. So I wanted to point out that we've threaded 4 threads per dent, 2 black and 2 of the teal. And you do this because it makes it easier to get the correct beat on a double weave project like this. Now I had a couple issues when I started weaving this. I got one repeat done, which this right here, I believe, no, this right here. So this is one repeat. And when I got the repeat done, I realized there was something going on here, and I think here, and it looked wrong. It looked like maybe there was a threading error. What it was is I had this one was a bit of a threading error. Even though the correct colored threads were through the correct shaft, it should have been 3, 4, 5, and it was 5, 4, 3. So that was causing an issue here. And then over here, I had threaded 5 threads in one dent and 1 thread in the next dent. And It probably would have been fine, but since I had to correct this one anyways, I decided to unweave the entire thing because this is the Jaeger spun, which is no longer made. And I have just maybe like 10 yards more than what the pattern calls for. So I didn't want to waste any of it. So I unwove all the way back here, took out the hem stitching, fixed the errors in the threading and the denting, and then rewove it. And I'm really glad that I did that. It didn't take that long. It put me one day behind because I only weave a couple hours in the evening. So it put me a little bit behind, but that's okay. I have a perfectly threaded and dented project now. So we're gonna continue on with the weaving, and I'm going to the next segment. So this next section will have it'll look more like this line here, and you can kind of see these little, so like each of these squares is broken up almost into 4 different squares. I'm not sure how they did that, but it's very cool looking. So we're going to go ahead and continue on with the weaving. This is a kind of a complex weave, and I don't trust myself to keep track of it in on paper or my head. So I am using my treadle tracker, and I use several people have asked what software I use, and I use iWeave on an iPad, and I really like it. So this is a double weave with color and weave. And so every other pick is an alternating color. And you have to be careful and conscious of your beat on this project. Because I had a question about the tie-up between the printed version and the electronic version, there was a discrepancy in the tie-up, and I posted it on a weaving group on Facebook, and where was I going with this? Oh, I don't remember where I was going with that. Oh well, maybe it will come back to me. Oh, yes. So one person said that they had woven it and that it turned out very stiff. And she ended up opening, excuse me, opening the set up from 32 to 24, and she said it was still kind of stiff. So I'm hoping that's not the case, because I don't want a stiff scarf. So one of the things that I am trying to be conscious of in making my weaving more ergonomically pleasing, let's say, is to try to not switch the tread or the shuttle from hand to hand when I go to pick it up. So if I'm doing this one, it would be easy to, I've got my hand here. My next pick is the blue shuttle, and it's going to come from the left. But my hand is sitting here. So my natural instinct is to pick this up, push it back, pass this to the left hand, and then throw the shuttle. But what I really should do is switch my hand that is holding that, because then I can take, so here is a good instance. Instead of doing this, what I should do is do this, and I can do two motions at the same time. And it makes it quicker. Okay, so that should be the last pattern pick. And I've got, so this is a 60-inch tape measure. So when I get to 60 inches, I started over. So I'm at 80, almost 86 inches. And that's about 2 inches over what the pattern calls for, but that's fine. I know that my beat was a little bit lighter than what they called for. So I'm not going to be worried about it. Now we're going to throw in 4 plain weave picks like we did on the beginning of the scarf, and then we'll do our hem stitching. And that is the wrong shed. Maybe one more over. I thought that looked funny. There. All right, so now I'm going to cut that and tuck my tail. And I just like to split my yarn when I tuck the tails. Just makes it look a little bit neater. Okay. All right, and now I'm going to, so we're going to measure off about a yard. And that right there is about a yard. And then we're going to hem stitch in bundles of 6 again. Okay, there we have it. All right, so now we can cut it off the loom. So 8 inches there. All right. And there we have it. So we'll take this off. Okay, weavers, we're back and we have the finished scarf. Now, at the beginning, I was a little hesitant about the color combinations, but as you can see, it turned out great. You can see that the Chartreuse has really been toned down by the black, blues, and in the warp and weft. So you can see I did the hem stitching on either end of the scarf, and then we did a nice generous twisted fringe. I left 8 inches for the fringe and then twisted it up and tied it, cut it off all even, and it ended up being about 5 inches long. The scarf on the loom was 84 inches long by 13 inches wide in the reed. And after wet finishing, it ended up being 80 inches long and about 11.5 inches wide. So a little bit of shrinkage, but not too much. I like the fact that it is a nice generous width and length because you can use it as a little wrap on those cool evenings, or you can take it and use it as a scarf. Either way, it is going to be gorgeous. If you'd like to purchase this scarf, you can find it in my Etsy shop. And if you liked watching me weave this scarf, please give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. You can also turn on notifications and get notified when I release videos, which I release a video about every 7 to 10 days. Thanks for watching and happy weaving.